Hello everyone, I'm going to go ahead and start our slab plate project. So what I have done is I have wedged my clay so it's prepared. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to actually flatten, and I'm just going to start out by just kind of pushing it down with the heel of my palm, and then when I've gotten it down to kind of a larger slab, then I'm going to go ahead and hit it down on the countertop. Okay, and when I do hit it down on the countertop, I'm flipping it over each time. Okay, once I get it down a little bit more manageable, then I am going to turn it a quarter turn and do the same thing. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of throwing it at an angle. Okay, so again, at an angle. And why we want to do that is it starts to develop a slab. This is what you can do when you don't have a rolling pin. Okay, so again, make sure to turn it a quarter turn every time that you throw it down. That will ensure that you get a nice slab. Okay, another way that you can do a slab is in class we usually have something called spacers. The spacers help with your thickness, so it keeps your slab at a certain thickness. You would just put them on either side, and again, if you don't have spacers, that's okay. And then you have a rolling pin. Okay, if you don't have a rolling pin, a glass bottle will work well. PVC pipe will work really well. So you could just, again, you just kind of start in the middle, roll back and forth. Now, if you don't have spacers, watch your thickness. Okay, make sure to stop what you're doing, pick it up, because if you don't, it'll get stuck to your table. Okay, and you want to have even pressure when you do your slab. Okay, even pressure. And again, you can go between both if you want. Okay, you're getting your slab of clay, again, thinner, but not too thin. Remember, you don't want it thinner than your pinky. So I'm just going to kind of do both methods. Actually, I'm going to move the spacers so I have a little more room. Again, watch your thickness if you're rolling it out with a rolling pin or a glass bottle or something along those lines, because you can get it pretty thin with not even noticing it. Okay. So now what I have rolled out is, of course, is probably a little bigger than what you're going to do, but that's fine because you can make more than one plate if you need. So we have our template. Okay, now mine's just a tad bit bigger, but you will have yours. Okay, what you're going to do is when you have your slab completed, and the thickness is, again, no thicker than your thumb, no thinner than your pinky, then you're going to take and it's pretty level throughout. You want to take something flat like a credit card or any of that, and you want to compress the clay. Okay, so when you compress the clay, you're just going over the top edge. Okay, and I kind of hold it at an angle. And again, I'm just going over it, and then I'm going to flip it and do the same thing. Okay, when you are finished, then you're going to take your template or your plate, you're going to place it on your slab, and then you're going to take a pencil, a pen, your toothbrush, your knife, whatever, and you're going to hold it down and draw a line around so you can cut your clay so it fits on your template. Okay, so there's mine. Now I'm just going to go ahead and cut through the clay. And again, remember, you want to probably do, don't go through the clay all the way. Little by little, clean off your tool each time that you need to. Okay, let me go around one more time here. And I'm going to cut it off in sections. Okay, put the pieces off to the side because we might be using them for the foot. Okay. So don't clump them up yet because there's a few ways you can make feet. Okay, which you can use your scraps to help you. All right, so I'm just going to clean up this edge a little bit. Okay, when you are finished, take your finger or your sponge that's a little damp and go over the edges just to smooth them down, because if you don't, you're going to have very sharp ends, and we don't want sharp ends. Turn it over, do the same thing. Okay, so again, the sponge works really well for that. Okay, take your template, and then you're going to gently lay it into your template. Okay, so here's where you can kind of play around. So my piece is in the template. It has a nice curve going on, but if I want more of an edge, you want to pick up your side and then press in. Okay, kind of like a pie crust if you've ever dealt with a pie crust. So again, I'm just picking up the edge and I'm pushing the clay down gently into that crevice. Okay, this might be cool to come back and take your sponge and then use your damp sponge, and you can just compress or press the clay into that area. Again, not much water on that sponge. As you can see, I'm not using any water because my piece is plastic. Okay, and I don't need much water to work with it. Okay, so now my plate is compressed into the mold. So now I'm going to work on the rim. So again, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to use my fingers and just kind of push this back real gently. Okay, very gently. Okay, because I don't want to push down the sides or anything. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is take my flat edge, or again, the damp sponge is going to work fantastic. And I'm just going to go over. I'm just kind of pressing it down, kind of compressing it, making that rim more apparent. All right, then I'm going to go through and kind of smooth it down a little bit. Okay, and smooth out any imperfections that I don't like or don't want to have. Again, I'm watching the edge too as well because I want to smooth that down as well. Okay, so again, here is your plate in the mold. You want to, of course, let it firm up a little bit. What you can do with the feet, there's a few different things. So I'm going to bring in the scraps that I had that I made for my project, and I'll just show you on top. But basically, you can use your scraps to make a foot. So a foot, then, I'm just going to turn this over to show you, would go on the bottom. Okay, and it helps the plate stand up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to cut two long rectangles out of this. So again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. I want it to be the same size. And again, you can use a ruler to help you with that. Once you have cut that, you can also lay it over your clay. And then do that again. And again, only use parts that are good. So again, I have to cut this right about here. And then measure it. So again, what you're going to do, now remember I still need this to firm up, but I just wanted to kind of show you how you could do the foot. So again, I'm just going to test it on the front side. Okay, so honestly, what I can do with these is I'm going to just cut these in half, and that will, you know, give me the length that I need and still a height. And again, try to keep them as, you know, to get as similar as possible. Okay, so remember, you're going to turn, you would turn your plate over, and actually, I'm going to do it. But again, you want to wait till it is leather hard. Okay. So what I'm doing is my plate actually was able to, I could take it out of the mold. And it held its shape. That's when you know you're ready to take it out from the top of the plate and move it to the other side. So see how it's holding its shape? It's still pretty much a soft slab, or a softer slab, but it's kind of dried out a little bit. So then I'm going to put the plate and then flip it over. And that will give you a little stability when you put the foot on. So when you put the foot on, again, you know, it depends on what type of foot. What I did is, you know, used rectangles about the same size. And then what I would do is score and slip that to the bottom. Okay, remember you got to score both pieces of clay, and I'll do that in a second, but I'll show you some other feet that you can do. So you can roll, again, a ball that's no thicker than your thumb, and you could place, and again, you want to get the same amount of clay rolled out. Okay, so this one I have is just a little bit bigger. Okay, you want to have at least 3 or 4. Okay, if you have 3, you got to place them just right so your platter can sit. Okay, you can also change the shape of them. Okay, by hitting them on your tabletop. If you want to make them more square, you can do that. You can also do decorative pieces, so you can roll out a coil. Okay, and you can curl it. Maybe you want more of a spiral, and then those spirals are your legs. You can do that. You can do a whole thing of them if you have enough clay, which you guys should. You can even add a decorative edge to the outside of your plate if you wanted to do that, if it worked with your story. So that's how you make your plate. When this firms up a little bit more, I'll put the underglaze and start sgraffitoing. So don't forget that when it can hold its shape, and I'll do it before I sgraffito, you're going to add the bottom.